Okay, hello everyone. I believe we're live. Yes, we are. We're 11 seconds live. And we've got a guest today, Matthew Ives, and we'll talk with him in a sec. We've got Bianca and Stephen Noonan from America. We'll talk to him about that. But first, Matthew, how about you introducing yourself, telling us what you do?
Well, currently, I guess I'm still the cultural development coordinator at the City of Unley. The barbecue spiel that I give is that I like to describe myself as a creative producer and cultural broker. So I guess that my strength is around creative realization, communicator, and long-term bureaucrat.
And long term, you have been doing this for a long, long while, and you're well known in the arts community in Adelaide.
Thank you.
Um, and it's fascinating that I'm interested to know what part does AI play in your world, and why the interest?
So I guess I'm wearing two hats. One is that we are controlled within a bureaucracy about I'm using Copilot through Microsoft. I did look at using Claude because of you guys. Um, I sort of gave up in a way. I think that I'd have to do that privately because we're covered in firewalls and things like that. So I've really wanted to be a voyeur to what you guys are saying. It's like lots of things is I feel if I'm not relevant unless I keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on as practicing artists, because I can't, my job is to advocate for you to the council to say why arts and culture is so important. And on the other hand, I guess I come back with my reality check, which is I've got a firewall in a council. So that's my part of it. I just wanted to pause because I did watch Tamika Lawler's piece as well, because that's kind of the other side of the positive equation that Dave certainly is putting forward, and I did find it fascinating. And I did have a question right up for all of you guys. Really, was that I made some little notes. I did totally understand Tamika's stealing creativity, the environmental impact, feeding the billionaires. I got all of that. I guess where I stopped was, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the times that I have dipped in with you guys, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I admire all of you immensely, as you know. Um, but I haven't heard any of you really talking about how you're using it creatively. I really feel that my summary of the way that I've heard the four of you is how you are using it to improve your arts business. All of you. I haven't heard any of you saying it's going to substitute for the creative process. And I think that's what Tamika's, to use her own language, rant was about she was, and I think we'd all applaud that. It's appalling what's going on in the musical world, for example. I think that's the worst space that it's operating in. But correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed anything, is all I think you're trying to do is free up what you need to do in this fast moving world in terms of running yourselves as solo businesses in order to do more of the creativity. So that's a question to all of you.
Great to make
That's certainly the goal.
yeah. So talk more to it, Bianca.
Oh, look, we all could say the same thing, I think we all want to do the really good work and do the work, but it is exhausting, as you say, being a solo business. There is all of that work that is unpaid time. And if I just reflect on my last few weeks, the last, say, 4 weeks, I had a whole week of time on pitching for one project, which in the end we were lucky to get actually. But, a week of unpaid time in a month is a lot, but lots of projects do that. And I think we spend so long with balancing the busyness work along with the work that we're really trying to do, that it doesn't, sometimes in my case, it doesn't allow me time to sort of put my head up and set more loftier goals and those sorts of things. And I realize that that's something I need right now. So I need a solution for reducing some of that business work just to stay active and to stay financially sustainable.
Steve, what's your take on it? Similar?
Yeah, my take is that, I'm not using it as an artistic tool. I'm totally embracing it for the business and the project management side of it, mainly because I love my own creative practice. That's what that's where I want to spend more of my time. So it really is, for me, using it as a tool to, developing the written rationale which we have to come up with all the time in art projects, justify why you want to do it. So, I'll have a project in mind and then I'll put it through AI to go, okay, what's the weakness in this, in terms of grant application, or if I'm doing a budget or something like that. So I'm fully embracing it in that context.
So it is largely efficiencies, and I think it's the same for me. I would say that we can't really escape. I use Logic Pro, for example, all the time, and it's got a function in it which breaks music into stems, and that's an AI function. There's AI functions in just about everything now that you use without even thinking about. So in the context of creative work, yes, there are tools that I'm using inside software that help me process help me do what I do, but in terms of agentic AI, I'm really focused on how can I get an operating system that cuts out 50% of the time that I spend explaining myself, doing all the nitty gritty stuff that's just plain arduous. So I think you're spot on and yes, I adore being on the floor or just sitting in my room and writing. I don't use AI as a writing tool. I use it as a thinking partner, I suppose, at times, where I sit down, I've got a problem. It's usually a problem associated with technology, and I use AI to solve those technical problems that I'm always coming across, because I'm using a lot of different softwares and I can't get my head around them all. And if I run across a problem, rather than look for the YouTube tutorial, I'm now saying, okay, this is my specific problem. AI, take me through it step by step. I want to understand how to do this quickly, please. So yes, that's really the way I think we're all working at it, and we all love and care for and don't want to lose this very human practice that we undertake. I'm just going to call out to my grandchildren who are kicking a football against the window of the studio. Robbie, can we have a bit more, less football activity or loudness, please?
That was
okay.
an AI. That was an AI intervention.
It was.
Is that correct?
Good question.
Can I add something, Dave, that I think we also don't want to miss out in any way in the collaboration that happens, and that is also things outside of our theatre world, like it's outside of the room. And I mean, when we talk to a videographer about a promo slip or an illustrator and those sorts of things. So there's people I'm still engaging with at the moment. I don't have any intentions of doing that work myself or taking that away, and I value their sets of skills, and maybe they use the tools and I don't have any restrictions on whether they use the tools, because what I'm looking for is the relationship that I have and the understanding that I have, and I feel like I still have all those things, even though, we know these tools exist and are part of some people's workflows.
Yeah. Thank you for that. How about I throw up the video and see what that generates? This is a video on my operating system, and I'd just like to ask each of you what your operating systems look like if you do have one. And so you've each seen this, so you're re-seeing it, I think. Here we go. G'day, Dave here as part of the AI for Independent Artists Learning in Public experiment. And I think it's useful to time tag this report because things in the world of AI are moving so rapidly that it may be interesting for me to look back on this as what was happening with AI in May 2026 at this point of time. So today I want to outline what my personalised AI operating system looks like. So when I turn up to Claude Cowork, this is what I see. I click on my For Claude folder. You can see it right there. Then I type in to the chat box, let's get started. And Claude spends a few minutes taking in the masses of information it's set up to absorb about me and my work. So it's ready to begin with a deeply informed memory and understanding of who I am and what I do and how I like to work. This is my For Claude folder. It is in effect my personalised Claude operating system. It's one folder sitting inside my computer. The common name for such a folder is a sandbox. I only give Claude Cowork access to this one folder, and anything else is by permission, and I'm very careful about what I give Claude access to outside of this folder for security reasons. Claude stores its memory of me and the workflow I'm developing in markdown files or .md files. You can see a couple of them there. Those two files providing all the comprehensive information for Claude to use in the startup process, regenerating the memory it needs to know and work with me. The Cowork integration roadmap is something Claude has made to provide it with an overview of the workflow systems that we're slowly building together. The ecology overview is a map of the PaperBoats' current activity. Then the next folder, the strands, holds information about various threads of the PaperBoats' current activity. And then there's a business folder for workflows relating to the business operations that support these strands. Finally, the tool belt holds the folders for each of the key software platforms I use. For example, my YouTube channel or my Canva design platform, with a view to discovering if and how each might be integrated into my workflow if such a connection is supported by Claude. Now, I want to show you the structure of the strands folders because that's where most of the work is done. So you can see that the strands represent the pockets of my activity inside the PaperBoats ecology. There's the sevenwell.org in the process of making podcast, the I See Red theatre making project with Stephen Noonan, the What Are You Working On YouTube series of interviews with independent artists, the Regional Reach touring program in partnership with Country Arts SA, my weekly Substack commentary, the PaperBoats International Co-Creation Partnerships, the AI for Independent Artists Learning in Public experiment that is going on right here and now, the mentorship and advocacy we do as we support each other and independent artists in general. And finally, the Compendium of Seventhological Sunshine Coffee Table Book. It's a project that I'm doing in conjunction with the podcast. And look, I can add more if needed and drop projects out when they're not needed. All of these strand folders are structured in the same way. So let's have a look at one which has been active recently. In the regional reach strand, the state of play markdown file is where Claude holds a summary of all the important happenings that have taken place inside this strand. The workbench folder is where the current work I'm doing in partnership with Claude is held. Let's say I'm preparing a proposal for a regional tour and I want Claude's assistance as I prepare budgets, timelines, schedules, reports of past endeavours, etc. So I work with Claude in the workbench folder, and then when I'm finished and I've got the proposal completed and ready to go, I send it off to Country Arts SA, and then I tell Claude I'm done. I ask Claude to integrate the outcome into the state of play file, so the workbench gets cleaned out ready for the next endeavour. Often there's work done outside of Claude that might be pertinent to the regional reach state of play, like, for example, all the documents relating to our 8-year partnership with Country Arts SA. Those files go into a feeder folder, so let's look at that. We place those pertinent documents into the update folder at any time, doesn't matter when. And the next time Claude boots up our operating system, it checks all the update files across all the strands and integrates the information into the state of play file for each strand, and then transfers the processed file into the updated folder. So that's the way the strand system works, and this structure was worked out and built with Claude by slowly discussing and trialing stuff, evolving this operating system as I do the work I do, always asking Claude along the way if there's efficiencies to be found, and if there are, then we work at making them real efficiencies. So that's the structure of my operating system, and I think there's two things I'd like to say about it. One is that I'm kind of reassured by the fact that Claude doesn't hold the memory of me. You know, that every time we boot up, it goes back and very, very quickly absorbs all the information that I have there waiting for it. But the next conversation, the next chat I open, it starts again completely fresh. And it actually says at the end of each session, the next Claude will pick up where we left off, because I've left that information in the state of play of what you're doing right now. So rest assured that the next Claude will understand where it needs to kick off. But it's a new Claude each time, and it sort of relieves that tension of feeling as though you're handing over part of yourself. Do you know what I mean? So that was one reassurance that came about by really understanding how memory works with these large language models. And the other one relates to how important it seemed, how, I think of big businesses. We're all single operators, but how important it is in getting the best out of Claude, how important it is to have that one-on-one relationship. It feels like that's where the power lies, that it's dealing with your specific problems, and it's addressing those because you've chosen to configure Claude so it's addressing the immediate problems and the immediate world that you exist within as an artist. So those two things are the takeaways for me. Any thoughts, questions, queries? And did it make sense?
I had critical comments and and querying comments for you, Dave.
Absolutely, go for it.
Knowing you as long as I have, having been involved with arts organisations where there's been more than Dave Brown, having run a festival as well, what I'm missing is when I work here, and to be honest, when I work at home on my personal stuff as well, is I do have a hard drive and I do label all the folders, and I would have thought that's what you've done in the past. I have a corporate record management system that obviously I have to keep it in time with that. Obviously, I have to sort of follow the same things, but I find that they're very accommodating. If you looked at my files here, like you've got it with your subfolders, for want of a better word, mine wouldn't look any different from the way that you've laid that out. So that's the bit that I sort of went, looks like what I look like.
Yeah.
What I was more interested in was the questions that you record, which I had 3 questions, if you don't mind, Dave. The first one was, how do you know that Claude only accesses those parts of your computer? But that's maybe for another day. The second question was around, what I'm interested in is how you sort of talk about this relationship with Claude 1, 2, 3, and all the subsequent versions of Claude. I'm interested in that. But I guess that the third part that I was interested in is the one takeaway that I had from your little section was around efficiencies, and I wasn't clear about how AI runs the efficiencies part, because that was the key word that I took away. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was a lot.
No, that's good. And I think the efficiencies lie in the skills that arise as a result of putting those things into place. So if I want, as I often do, a list of all the YouTube URLs that make up my YouTube channel, there's a skill that Claude has created for me that allows it to access that list. And if I say I want a transcript from that particular YouTube because I want to do more work around what came out of that conversation, it generates that for me in seconds. So I would normally spend, if I'm looking for a thing on YouTube, it might take me 10 minutes to find what I'm looking for. And then it will, if I want to generate a transcript or find a bit of a transcript, it might take me another 20, 30 minutes to find it. And I'll get waylaid on the way. So that's one small example of this kind of efficiencies that come out of setting up the system like that, because in each of those strands, if I'm working within a strand, there's a whole lot of stuff all over the place that I need to access to to put together a report, to put together thoughts and ideas in order to create a session like this or whatever. So yes, I think there needs to be another sort of video that explains how that system supports efficiencies, because you've highlighted how important that is to us all. Bianca, can I ask how you set up your system? And I've become very aware of security, and when you said, how do I know that Claude doesn't access other things on my computer, it only gets to see that one folder called For Claude and everything in it, that little system. It's called a sandbox. It's sandboxed. If I give it permission to look at a particular website, I have to put that into Claude, and it gives Claude permission to go to that website. So it doesn't have access to Chrome in general, because that would mean that my information might be scrutinized by other bodies or other bots, as I understand it. I'm learning, just like we all are. and I'm taking it on faith that Claude does only see what it's allowed to see.
I think the test there is to try to let it have permission, because you'll see that that actually is a process. So my system is similar but completely opposite to you, Dave, in that I think in a similar form. It sounds like we all think in that kind of way of dividing our work up into projects and sort of what we need to do currently, what we're sort of keeping hold of, what's on So I think we think about our projects the same way, but I still operate from a Google Doc, which is getting quite long now. So I have a lot of projects, and in our world, sometimes our projects take years to come into realization, and so there are parts that I'll push further down, and I'll park them, and but so the thinking of the structure around the way we do that work and the way we attend to, like, where is the working folder and the working things we need to do is similar, except my Google Drive is organized just by project. And I don't organize Claude in the same way at all. I say, here's free access to everything. And I'm under no illusion that I have privacy in this world, really. If you think about the fact that our family is a huge Google user. We use, I'll yell out, add this to the shopping list verbally out in the house, like that. And, a lot of this knowledge comes from Greg, and I trust him in looking at the safety of all these things, because we're both, very concerned about that. But I'm under no illusion that, you think about going to the supermarket, right? Your face recorded, like everything's recorded. So I'm under no illusion that I really, things are really, not out there in the world. Only thing I do not give permission to Claude to do is to go to my email inbox. And that is because that is where my passwords go if I was to do a password reset. And so Greg and I have talked about, where is the safety boundary? And that causes me issues sometimes, that doesn't have access to see some of those things, but it's a line that I've drawn. That's my hard line. But for everything else, I've set up permissions, and that's an active thing that I need to do. And even still, I'll say, here's a link to the document I'm talking about, and it will still say, do I have permission to go and look at this document? And I have to actively press the button. I think if you give it a try, you'll see those permission steps that are there, and you'll see that Claude's very interested in that. I can't remember how this came up before, but I wanted to mention that sometimes I do jump across and use ChatGPT, and I only have a subscription because of the email component, and I have those two things separately. But sometimes it's good to pull things out and go and have a little fresh set of eyes somewhere else as well, and then pull things back.
Do you get lots and lots of emails? Do you need support in looking at your emails?
Yeah, maybe, some days there might be 15 that require a response in some way, that need genuine attention and response. And that's admin time I need to set aside to do it. In reality, I've been trying to use, like, I'll dot point my reply and see how that response comes. But I think, as I've mentioned in the past, the way words are for me is very important, and they need to feel like myself, and I'm not quite ready to just have something that, delivers the message but doesn't feel like me. So I'd still rather type them. But it's handy knowing that if I need to look at something that includes my emails and my drive and stuff, I could do that. I could search for a document or a history or something like that. That whole email thing is missing from Claude's vocabulary.
Steve, how do you do it?
Mine's very basic. Like, I wouldn't be as detailed and elaborate as Dave's. It really is. I'm just uploading a Word document for Claude to reference and say, hey, look, look at this, project description. And I suppose, but one key thing I've started to do is, because all AI is a bit sycophantic. It always tells you, oh, what a fantastic question. Oh, that's a really good thought. You know, so I ask, you know, like David said before, I want it to be a critical thinking partner. So I said, you know, don't praise me. Yeah, find, you know, problems, find things that I haven't thought of. And that's really helpful because, yeah, at the moment, you know, it's a bit of an addictive thing. Oh, great, Stephen, that was a fantastic question. You know, we get this dopamine hit from it, which is, you know, the whole, how they're designing. It's like doom scrolling. We get the hit from it. So, yeah, I'm trying to just, yeah, work within that too.
Mm-hmm. Look, that's our 30 minutes. That it flies. It's flown, and great to have those provocations from you, Matthew. And we'd love to have you visit us again. And thank you for your support and for your fantastic work as over many years. I mean, you won the Ruby Award for. Tell us what it was.
The Jeff Crowhurst
That's
Community
right.
Arts Award.
Community Arts, which is a very prestigious Ruby and well earned. And it's great to see the work that you do acknowledged in that way.
Well, you know, and all credit to all of you who I admire, and it's just interesting to have this completely different bent, because I know all of you for different reasons, and to hear you talking about something completely different from what we normally talk about is just fascinating. You're also deadly serious, that's the thing.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you, and thanks to anybody that's watching. And what I usually do is sort of just edit this, tidy it up a bit, and make it available to people who have shown an interest in the topic. So that will come to fruition during the week. Thanks all, and so long. And I'm just ending the